Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Hager RCBB1279 4x4 US10 is what this is. This is a fairly common hinge. I would say that this would be, in a residential application, I'd say this would be a common hinge. If your home was built in 1963, you could expect this possibly to be like the original hinge on that door. And I mean that saying, yeah, this is what would have been used, what would still be used. So let's start with talking about the dimensional properties of this quickly, and then what is it and why would you need it. It's a 4x4, so that means that it's 4-inch tall and it's 4-inch wide. And what I mean by that when I say that is the height is the first dimension on a hinge, and then the width. Well, it's a 4x4, you can get away not knowing that. Well, true, but if you had a 8x6, or a 4x3.5, or a 4.5x7, you need to know that's the first dimension. So that's what's really important. This is a 1279 hinge, which means it's going to be in a 4-inch size. It's going to be 130 thousandths thick. My caliper tells me 0.132, 132 thousandths. So yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. Now, what is this? Why would you need it? Let's talk about that now. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. This hinge from Hager, a company that's been in business since the mid-19th century. This is a full mortise hinge. We'll just dissect these as we go through it. When the door is open, you see the bend on the hinge leaf here. That's the swag. That means when the leaves are brought parallel, they're meant to be mortised flush to the edge of the door and frame. That's why we call it a full mortise hinge. You're mortising it on both the door and the frame. It is an RC. We'll start in the beginning of the hinge. RC, radiused corner. That's a 1/4-inch radius corner. Corners are done square corner or radiused corner. Radius corner can be done 1/4 or 5/8 radius. How you achieve that is when you're routing the wood door in the frame with a 1/2-inch router bit, 2-flute carbide router bit, you're going to get a 1/4-inch radius. How would you get 5/8 radius? Well, you'd have an 1.25 inch diameter bit. Why would you use one over the other? An 1.25 inch diameter with a 5/8 radius, you only need to make that tool path when you're cutting that. When you've got a 1/2-inch router bit, you need to make more tool path through the work, probably what I just did, to remove all the material to mortise it. If you don't go back and square out the corners, that's what you're going to be left with, 1/4-inch radius. BB stands for ball bearing. There are 2 ball bearing packets in here, making the hinge capable of handling weight better than a plain bearing hinge, because a lot of that force, the weight of the weight of the door itself, the action of it opening and closing, is transferred to the steel ball bearings that are in there. When you have a standard weight hinge, there are 3 grades of thickness on hinges. Residential weight, standard weight, sorry about that, heavyweight. So residential weight, standard weight, heavyweight. This is a standard weight. That means it's 130 thousandths when it is a standard weight hinge. So the moving through the part number, on a standard weight hinge, you'll have 2 bearing packets. If you happen to, I hit a pothole there for a moment. Forgive me. If you had a heavyweight hinge, you would have 4 bearing packets, is what I was driving at. We know this is standard weight. Well, we know it's either standard weight or residential weight because it has 2 bearing packets. You can do residential weight in a ball bearing as well. 1279, that means a number of things. It means it's made of steel. It means it's that full mortise hinge we talked about earlier. It means that it is a 5-knuckle hinge as well. It means all of those things. Full mortise, ball bearing hinge, standard weight, 4x4, steel, 5-knuckle, 1/4-inch radius, satin bronze, the last part of the part number, US10. US10 means satin bronze. What US10 doesn't tell us is what the base material is. You can do US10 as either US10 or 612. 612 is the BHMA code for satin bronze. But you can also do satin bronze and BHMA in 639. The difference between 612 and 639 is 612 is a brass or bronze-based material. 639 is a steel-based material. Hager uses the old US system, which was in effect up to about 1931, maybe. I'm guessing. I've narrowed it down to about that time, maybe the very late 1920s. After that, the U.S. system came into effect in about 1931. About then. Before that, there was not a U.S. system. There was a committee, a government-led committee put together that brought in industry people. Hager probably would have been very much a part of that committee. I don't know that because I don't have catalogs from Hager dating to that period, but I do have Sargent catalogs that date to that period, and I see the 1927 catalog, the 1929 catalog, and then the early 30s catalog I have. There's that new U.S. system. Prior to the U.S. system, you had terms such as Colombian bronze. Okay, I can guess that Colombian bronze is probably not pink. Okay, but I don't really know what it is. And then when you look at Colombian bronze, you'll have light and medium. And then you've got, and that's just from Colombian bronze. That is a reference to a Corbin catalog from, I think, 1923 maybe. On that same page, there's 20 other names, descriptive names, but it's, Arctic, frost. That's not a real term, but I don't know what color that is. It's probably some white would be my guess. Well, the United States government put together this committee to standardize. So US10 is US10, no matter if it's Corbin or Hager or Sargent or Russell and Irwin or any other manufacturer. The BHMA code is better because it tells us the base material, so this would really be 639, but Hager goes back so far they use those US numbers. And you would use a US number, actually, in lots of instances when you can't or don't want to declare the base material because there is no uniform base material. An exit device is a perfect example of that. When you order an exit device from Hager, they're going to call it US10 because they can't call it 639 because not everything there is steel. And they can't call it 612 because not everything there is bronze. So they'll use the old system that specifically says satin bronze. That's all. It could be made of plastic and they could call it US10. We don't know. But the point is, US10 is satin bronze. Satin bronze is a tricky color. To the camera, this kind of looks like US4 or satin brass. But when you look at it in person, yeah, you see the red come through. When you look at it on this camera with the way the light reflects it, it makes it look more satin brass. The red that's in here, that's more of the true color of what it is. This is definitely satin bronze. Maybe a little lighter. I've seen that. I would want satin bronze to be slightly redder than what this is, but this is definitely going to fit within US10. Comes with a package of screws, all machine screws and all wood screws. By all means, when you're ordering the item, declare in the comment field what the door and frame are made of so that there's no guesswork in terms of what fasteners you want. Not that it's going to happen on a 4x4, but if you were to send me all wood screws, I would say, yeah, that's a good guess. It's probably a wood door and a frame. If it was a 4.5, forgive me, a 4.5, 4.5, if you were to send me no machine screws, I might say, well, that's probably wrong. There's something there that's probably a steel door or a steel frame or both. If it was 8x6, I would definitely think it's going to be a wood door and a wood frame. The point is, don't leave it up to the factory to guess or to send you the standard. I've gotten that call on a Saturday morning with 8x8 hinges, and the client did not get enough wood screws. And I don't know what possessed the factory to not send enough wood screws because I've never heard of a steel or channel iron, sure there are, but a steel door or a channel iron application that would take an 8x8 heavyweight ball bearing hinge where you would need machine screws. If I was going to guess, I'd guess all wood. The point, let's eliminate the guesswork, indicate in the comment field what you'd like to have happen there. Let's switch to the screen view and let's take a closer look at some supporting information. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Okay, here's the hinge that we're looking at. Let's take a look at some photos that we have. There's the hinge. That shows a better US10. That's showing the full mortise feature or the swag on the hinge leaf here and here. If there was no bend, that hinge would lay flat on the desk, and that would be a full surface hinge. Or if you bent that leaf differently, you're going to get a different style hinge, whether it be a half surface or a half or a full surface, or if you are going for a raised barrel or a swing clear. The way they bend those leaves dictate and define the hinge. That's the back side of the hinge. Doesn't have the same treatment as the front side, but it is colored to match, because you will see the barrel part, obviously, when the door is closed. Another view showing the brushing fairly well. And then speaking of that, getting up close on that, that really looks like satin brass, but it's the same hinge. Just the way the light's hitting it. Hager logo, USA. Hager USA, that's the logo. Doesn't mean it's made in the United States. Much of what they do is, much of what they do isn't. Just pointing that out to you. Their logo is Hager USA, not made in the USA necessarily. I don't know the country of origin of this hinge, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was overseas. Screw package, you can't see really much there. I apologize for that. Now, extended description information. Application requiring medium frequency use. The details here, you can review that. I won't get into that, other than full mortise, 1/4 inch radius, 5 knuckle ball bearing, 4x4, satin bronze, plated, clear coated, etc. There's a link to the catalog here. Let's take a look at that. That's handy. This will give you all things Hager hinge related. So this is going to be an extreme overview. There's the BB1279. When you add the RC to it, that's where you're going to get the radius corner. So I would certainly recommend that you dive into this catalog, because it is the comprehensive document as it pertains to all things Hager. Hager does a really great job in the sense that they offer hinges that other people just simply don't, is the bottom line. An example of that, just from earlier this week, the spring hinge from Hager is the 1250. Okay, if you wanted a spring hinge to complement this, well, it would be a 1251 because it's 1/4 inch radius, but the 1250 is the standard spring hinge. The question is, the client had an unusual application, and I'll show you that application. And here it is. I've got a customer who has a fire-rated door, and the inspector came by and said this door needs to be self-closing. The client told me that he had removed the spring hinges a long time ago because he didn't want the door self-closing. But I don't believe it pertained to this opening, but the door needs to be self-closing. He bought this hinge, which is not a Hager hinge, but what the client's attempting to illustrate here is that he can't fit the hinge in this space because the casing is so tight to the barrel of the residential non-ball bearing hinge that he has that he would need to mortise back the casing around the barrel of the hinge. Well, what I'm driving at is what you need for that is a raised barrel hinge. A raised barrel hinge literally takes the axis of pivoting off of the jamb so that you don't have conflict. So imagine that casing coming up to here. Well, when you lift the hinge off, you've cleared that type of obstacle that the casing is presenting the barrel of the hinge. Okay, but we set a spring hinge. Well, yeah, Hager is like the only company that I contacted 2 of 3, because I know the third couldn't do it or wouldn't do it. And Hager said, yeah, we can do it. That's in our price book. You can price that right out of the price book. So if you're looking for hinges, Hager remains a great option because of their ability to make the odd hinges. I actually have some 5x12 hinges on my desk. A WTBB1279 5x12. So I have a 12-inch wide hinge. Yeah, WTBB. I'm doing a steel-based. WTBB1278. 5x8's the biggest in their catalog. They've made me 10-inch and 12-inch, so they can do it. They take forever, and they're costly, but they'll do it. And I happen to have an application where the client really needed that. Let me show that to you as well. And luckily, the client still has these images hosted online. So what we've got here is this really, well, let's get you to a picture that will make more sense. Okay, here it is. Now, if we kind of get in here and look here, you've got this extremely thick wall. Check out this view. That's not awful. That's something special right there. You've got this really thick exterior wall. This is a log cabin type construction. The clients want the doors to swing fully open 180 degree. Well, 5x12 to the rescue. When they built the home, they custom made these hinges. It was a great effort, and it worked. Just turned out to not work long term. The hinges have fatigued and failed over time, so they wanted something more robust and heavy duty, and that's where that hinge came in. So Hager can do it. 5x12 was the perfect math for this. So we've replaced this with a much heavier weight hinge that will do the job. Okay. A great attempt. I don't know if someone actually makes these. Well, someone obviously makes these hinges, but I've never seen these commercially available. May be a specific hinge to the manufacturer that creates these kits that build these log cabins is what that could be. Anyway, enough about singing Hager's praises on their ability to custom make hinges. There is a link below this video here to the manufacturer's page where you can click on that and you can pull up not only all of the Hager products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation here, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog here. And perhaps the last thing to point out to you would be the link to the template as seen here. Should you need to see the location of the screw holes, you've got that data on that link to the template. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Now, if you have any questions on the RCBB1279 4x4 in a US10 or any other Hager hinge, please feel free to reach out to us. This can be done in all of the finishes that Hager can do. Your brasses, your bronzes, your chromes, your nickels, satin, polished, oil rubbed, antique bronze, lacquered, black, powder coat, or whatever black process they're doing. And then, of course, different sizes. They can do this probably in 3x3, certainly in 3.5, 3.5, 4x4, probably 4x3.5, 4.5x4, 4.5, 4.5, 5x4.5, probably 5x4. You get the point. Maybe up to 6x6 is probably what they can do, or maybe just 5x5. You get into larger hinges than 5x5, then you're going to be looking at what would be a 11/68, a thicker hinge. That would be a on a 4.5-inch hinge, it would be 180 thousandths leaf thickness. Any questions on this or any other Hager product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you very much. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.